even more. Let's start with a quick recap, though, of the day's competition. We do. You like it?
Yeah, nice guy.
All right. In any case, it's been a long day. It's been a long 2 days overall. Let's track back to the beginning of the day. Splyce versus Roccat. Verius, we were on the desk here with the Fisio, all very excited for that matchup because it seemed like it could be two teams reinvigorated, so to say, and it was a very, very, very exciting series.
Yeah, it certainly was. I mean, Splyce, they were able to get the advantage in game one. Parang bringing out his Jace, which the Fisio was not a massive fan of because Jace up in the top lane, when you try to make those teleport plays, don't really have the same sort of impact to something like a Maokai or maybe even the Gragas. But moving into game two, they definitely had a significantly better performance. And while Splyce, I was looking forward to this game in particular. I thought it was going to be really close. I thought it was going to be really exciting. And fortunately, both these teams were able to bring something out.
Yeah, I was actually really sad I missed this. I was casting on the other stream right now. But everyone's like talking about Parang, Jace. So apparently it did not work out. First time I see it.
Well, it doesn't work in the comp, yeah.
Well, this game was really all about Betsy, though, on the Swain.
Yeah.
I mean, he brought the Swain out up against the Vlad. He even ran Ignite to have so much more kill pressure in the mid lane. He was playing hyper aggressively, always being on the front line, and he was very deserved of the player of the game in that match.
And so another tie here for Roccat. Yesterday tied against H2K2. Betsy, so far in wins, every time has the
I think he's the leader in player of the game because he is the only person that has two. Actually, Trick also has two. But we'll take a look at that leaderboard later. Oh, that shirt. Wonderful. Bringing the fashions. In any case, Reckless, obviously, we were looking a lot at Roccat with their new import Koreans, obviously, but also Steelback, that person you know very well, or a player you know very well. How do you think he can change kind of the dynamic of Roccat in the summer split?
Well, I think something that was really underestimated in the past for this lineup specifically was the Betsy and Airbox. I think both of them are really good players, and especially together, I think they can create a lot of room for the others. And a player like Steelback, who stepped up big time in the Spring Split, can definitely grow into this room, I think. I don't have too much information on the Koreans, but in scrims, they both look pretty decent. Then again, I haven't seen his Jace yet. But
that is so far the notion for, I think, almost all Korean imports that we have here in Europe. Decent, but nobody really stands out as like a hard carry. So when you see if it maybe is the meta, as the Reckless just said, so being team reliant, that it doesn't, individual performance isn't really allowed to shine anymore, or if, you know, maybe they just don't have the talent, but they need some gel time at least. I think we'll wait until week 3 and 4 until we can actually get the final judgment on a lot of these players. Well,
a Korean import that did great today was on UOL in that series versus OG. After seeing what UOL did yesterday, we didn't have the high hopes for them, but they completely destroyed Origen.
Yeah, but it was actually, I think Exile's actually the German kid that really carried. No, wait, I'm confused right now. Never mind. Move. Let's just talk about...
Yeah, Exile is on UOL.
Yeah, I'm like, my mind is just
Exile really stepped up for me in particular. I talked about him yesterday underperforming, maybe having a bit of nerves, but today he seemed to be in an environment that suited him perfectly.
He got the LeBlanc.
Yeah, he is German. I was like so confused. Korean import, because for me, because there was like move carried that game, but for me, Exile just on LeBlanc twice, he took full control. They played a similar style that Fnatic did with the really heavy skirmishes. You know, we don't need tanks. Move helped him set up for it though. Definitely a different contrast, because we were talking about it in our lead-in. Yesterday they went like something like 0 and 13 or something, the weakest jungle mid combination we've seen in absolute ages. And right now some really good flash cocoons, especially the one that tilted Forgiven that we saw at the start of the clip when I was still tilting. He went for a flash cocoon on Janna, and then Forgiven panic flashed into a wall. It's like maximum tilt, and I think that was spelled out the rest of the series. Game 2, Expeke subbed in, but it wasn't any different.
Yeah,
Exile just took off.
It didn't help. So UOL, obviously great that they came back, but we got to talk about Origen. Obviously, they are 0-4 in games. And just looked, I even think they looked better yesterday. They had 2 losses versus G2, but that was more to be expected against that top team. Reckless, can you talk me through kind of the Forgiven hybrid dynamic and how that changed the way Origen plays?
Actually, I had kind of high hopes for both Forgiven and hybrid together. I think they play sort of similar, and they think sort of similar. So I'm not sure exactly what I expected going into, for example, yesterday's game, because I know G2 is a pretty good lineup and one of the strongest teams, judging off scrims. But to see them perhaps not step up even today was a bit saddening.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there from the scrim point. I can see how this lineup could perform in a slightly more solo queue environment. Like in scrims, if you have a 50-50, you know, can we maybe kill this guy? You will always go for it, you know, and on stage, you will respect Fog of War more. It does seem that Origen is really still in that mentality. It's like, oh, this guy's right here, let's try and kill him. Oh, it turns out we're playing on the wrong side of the map, or there's more people collapsing, no communication. I think they definitely have the talent, but they lack a leader. Part of the leadership was Mithy amazing as a combo. Yeah. They lost Mithy right now. Mithy is clearly doing work in G2, still kind of molding the team there, but they really need to get back on track. I think we will see more Xpeke, because I think the dynamic's going to change to Xpeke and amazing shot calling together.
And we discussed yesterday how the meta is changing in the mid lane and how this could very well be Power of Evil's meta. He liked to play those sort of control mages mid, and so far he has not been performing. He pulled out the Ryze yesterday, got completely destroyed by... the Varus yesterday got completely destroyed by Perks. He also pulled out the Orianna today and just wasn't able to perform. Yeah,
and it was also an interesting shift for me, because as we said, last particular round, Xpeke only stepped in because Power of Evil was sick. And then in the finals, it wasn't that Power of Evil didn't play good, but this time he also admitted it himself on social media. I just didn't play good. And to have that happen in week 1, it doesn't spell a lot of good for me out for OG. I don't really know. As said, the communication has to change. How much of a role can Hybrid play in that?
I don't think like Hybrid had to communicate much in G2 either, though. It felt like a lot of their gameplay just was on individual prowess and snowball, and everybody's just like, yeah, just fight your way out, and eventually they'll win. Yeah, we need to see how he evolves. It's also really hard for a player. Remember, Hybrid's still very young, very new to the stage, to come into a lineup with personalities. I don't want to say like egos, because we don't know how they operate, but like personalities like Soas, Amazing, and Forgiven. Those are 3 very stern voices that have like very absolute opinions. To come into that as Hybrid, it may be a little challenging to find his groove and kind of try to shock all these people.
Yeah, another thing I was looking at is Power of Evil just in general, because 2 years ago when he bursted onto the scene, we were in awe all the time, and he would do very good in lane and solo kill these people that have been around forever. And now Exile is kind of the same. Reckless, do you think there is a part of you when you become a pro player and you get to step into that limelight? Do you become calmer along the way when you get more experience? And maybe does that not work out? How have you seen that for yourself? Have you, because you're there longer, you take the safer option more, and that's maybe not the best option, when before you would have just gone ham?
I would probably say so, yeah. I think with time you get maybe even complacent sometimes. Meanwhile, if you're new, you have like nothing to lose, everything to win a bit. So I would definitely say so. And I think especially during the first weeks, the newer players are really, really hungry to get back in there, right? But the ones who have been around for a longer time, they're more kind of eased back perhaps and just sticking around for playoffs, right? And I think that might hurt the more experienced ones.
Yeah, you also never want to be that guy, you know, as an experienced player, to then just make a big mistake, because you get more you just get the spotlight on that.
Yeah.
It also it tracks into a bigger discussion regarding maybe burnouts, you know, or pacing, because like a lot of these young players, they come in flying, they won't sleep. Like they'll say like, you know what, I can practice 3 hours more if I only sleep 4 hours a night. Beautiful, let's go. And then obviously down the line, you'll feel that hit you.
Yeah, but Exile definitely a good opening performance overall. Yesterday had a really hard time, but showed up today and showed that he can do it as well. Another series we had today was Giants up versus G2. G2 2-0 once again. They are the best performing team in the opening weekend here in the EU LCS, which was to be expected. Obviously, Sven and Mithy was the big transfer there. How do you think they have gelled into that lineup?
Well, as Krepo said before, that perhaps the G2 shot calling in the old lineup wasn't like anyone specifically. It was perhaps just more individual instincts, right? So with Mithy coming in, perhaps they're cleaning up a lot of the chaos that they had before, but still having that aggressiveness that they were so famous for. So I think it's a pretty balanced roster all in all.
And to be fair, I thought this was going to come from Maxlaw. I mean, in Game 2 of Giants, he did have a great early game in setting up the laners for success, and having him join the team and having seen him in the past, I felt like he would be the voice to unite Giants, but based on what they saw against J2, they just couldn't match up.
Yeah, we saw some good things from Giants to work with, but in the end, G2 was too strong. Reckless, before you talked about types of AD carries and where Sven slots in. How do you think that works within the other players that we see in G2?
I mean, Sven has been pretty used to be played around in Origen specifically, but I think in general, if you're a good player, you can play any style. Like you don't have to stick to one specific one. And I think in the end, anyways, it's up to like the draft. You should be able to be last priority. You should be able to be first priority. It should all just depend on what your game plan is all in all. So I think he's more than good enough to understand that himself.
Where do you see G2 ending here?
Well, going into the split, I had really high hopes for them. I mean, they are probably the best looking team at paper. So especially now when they already have a 4-0 in the first week, I think they have a lot of room to grow in. I think they're very confident in themselves, and
yeah, they definitely built themselves a buffer. I think 4-0 was almost expected from G2. It was more the manner in which they would do it. Maybe against Origen, you could argue a little bit there. They still have a lot of work around their objectives still, around Baron, but luckily for them, they just have a wealth of talent. People like to rag on Kikis, but I think he knows his... This sounds so bad. Like, he knows his place. He just knows that he has to play a low econ style very often, and maybe they can change and let him carry more, but he knows his limits there. And that's enough. Like, you can't have 3 high econ players.
I was going to say, today he did bring out the fizz, and having a look at the draft, I was like, well, you know, we've been talking a lot about how he is a low econ top laner. How's he going to do on more of this carry style? And he managed to get a solo kill onto Smitty J. Take that what you will. I mean, he is definitely stepping up in terms of being that extra carry that G2 do they need? Well, you know,
an extra carry never hurts.
Yeah,
no, it never. In any case, a lot of teams have a lot of things to learn and look back on. So it's time to look back on Fnatic's opening weekend, as you have you here, Reckless, as well. Vitality today, a 1-1, and you were mentioning that you felt like you made it very difficult for yourselves in the draft in the first game.
Yeah, I guess the words I was using was that we were playing Through Fire and Flames from Guitar Hero on expert mode when you could have just played on medium, no problem. So yeah, I think we kind of shot ourselves in the foot going into the first game with the way we drafted.
What specifically?
Yeah. I think, to sum it up shortly, their front line was stronger than ours, and their back line was stronger than ours. And at the same time, they have a double TP advantage, so we didn't really have any winning conditions.
I would argue that your backline with Azir and I think it was Lucian, right?
Yeah.
Had a stronger...
For me, it was just, we had a backline of 2, but they had a backline of 3.
Yeah, but you had stronger continued DPS, and that's how Fnatic actually won some of these fights, but they required perfect execution in the sense that every fight Lysandra comes in, Spirit would have to kick her out. Yeah. Then they would have to peel back, hope that they kept committing, and that's when Fnatic cleaned up. Yeah. But if you if you missed this game, just watch it for the team fights. Look, got the handshakes here. We are part of the fans. I like this game because it left really nice room for banter between me and Sifa to get him.
It was a great cast, to be honest.
And then we also had some really nice team fights, both where Fnatic lost due to the Nuke Dog just doing some fantastic plays, but also where they understood the pacing of the fight, waited, and then the continued DPS of Lucian and Azir shine through in the end.
Yeah, you talk about the team fights. We have to talk, of course, to you about the return of YellOwStaR. We had an interview with him yesterday where he said it was like I had never gone. It just slotted right back in. How has it been from your experience having him back?
Well, from a player perspective and an individual one, it just felt natural from like game 1. I think we've played together for enough time now to just know exactly what the other one wants to do. I think I was watching a feature on Afremo and Stixay the other day, and Afremo was speaking about how he and Doublelift back in the day had this kind of synergy where they didn't really need to communicate because they understood each other on such a deep level. And I think me and Bora have something very similar. And then on a personal note, I think we've always kind of been cool with each other, and especially now with him going to gym every day, I figured I would just come along and perhaps become more than just a pretty face for once.
Humble brag.
Yeah, so it's been really good to have him back, honestly, and I think it kind of showed as well in the games that I just trusted him blindly.
Yeah.
Good. People followed him. Sometimes he went a little bit too far. That's why they drafted Kalista then to pull him back.
Yeah, no, but we have to ask about that.
Protect each other.
no other team or AD carry puts a priority that high on the Kalista. Why is that for you guys?
Well, I think Kalista is always Kalista, right? You just bring the utility for your support. And even though she's seen a lot of nerfs, I think she kind of fits in well once the Lucian's gone. I mean, in general, most of the picks after Lucian are
so next patch
just situational anyways. And I think Kalista is actually one of the few that are not super duper situational. When I was talking about the Caitlyn, for example, that a lot of teams are picking in the first rotations, in my opinion, that's incorrect because you should just be playing it in the 1-3-1s, right? Meanwhile, Kalista can kind of slot in anywhere.
Yeah.
It brings a lot of CC that you might not have in the current setups.
Definitely like in the faster paced comps with the LeBlancs, etc. You're just going for hard lane wins and then just snowball the map.
And just to go back on what Ify was saying with the changes in patch 6.11 coming out, I feel like Fnatic are actually ahead of the curve in terms of what AD carries are going to be really strong, because I do think we're going to see a rise in the Sivir, the Kalista. I'm hoping we see more Ashe. We've already seen a lot of it in LCK, but if you guys do bring out the Ashe, please, because I think it's really good for setting up engages and it's a really fun champion to watch.
Well, we'll see. We can, of course, fight it out of them. But in any case, after week 1, our spring champions G2 Esports are in first with 6 points after a perfect start to the summer. Fnatic, Schalke are both tied for second with 4 points, and then Giants, Origen are without a win in week 1. Not all that is to be expected, of course. Schalke is quite a surprise to me, to be honest, that everything is going so well for them.
Yeah, always have to temper early reactions.
Yeah.
Because certain teams have had an easier schedule, so I do like the high amount of games we're playing. We've already seen so much league. Usually after like a week 1 of a new patch, you see a little bit of things, but not the most. I think teams will really have to kind of speed up their preparation and their adaptation in between weeks, because we get so much exposure to so many different scenarios.
Unicorns of Love is the team that I'm probably going to be keeping my eyes on the most, because we saw them have a really bad game against Schalke, but then a really good game against Origen. So I still don't know where they fall in the spectrum, and right now they are in the middle of the pack. And moving on to next week, I think it will be a better representation of how much they've grown as a team and how well they gel together.
We'll see. Reckless, how has the experience of best of 2s been for you?
Well, I know, for example, after losing the first game, that if it was just a best of 1, I would have been really sad, because I think if we just, as we could see in the game 2, if we just drafted it properly, we had a much better chance of winning the game. Because I don't even think the second draft was like in any specific favor for us. It was just more balanced out. So I think obviously it's a win that we got to play another game and got to like make revenge for ourselves. But at the same time, I still think that we kind of have to owe it up that we screwed up in the first game. So I think a 1-1, for example, for this series, fair and square. And I would call it a much better solution than, for example, just going home with that loss.
I'm feeling bad about that. Well, we almost have to wrap up here, but I do want to check in with you guys over on Twitter, because you tweeted up a storm. We wanted to know what power picks you were expecting on patch 6.10. And at Rusty Lol, hey, we know that guy. Yeah. Vlad, because Vlad, I'm laughing straight to the blood bank with this. You had a lot to say about Vlad.
Yeah, so I wasn't convinced initially by Vlad, but it seems that Vlad's laning phase, which was his weakest point, has now pretty much been solved with the addition of Crimson Rush. It's really difficult to outtrade the Vlad unless you pick the Swain into it, which we saw really interestingly from Betsy, but I mean, Vlad really has grown a lot as a mid laner.
Reckless, how fun is it as an AD carry to play versus Vlad?
I think I played my first game against Vlad. Okay, yeah, okay, it's fine. Okay, so I played my first game against Vlad when we were screaming Schalke, and Fox was pulling it. I was considering if I could.
He played it.
Yeah, he played it, so it's okay. And like, I didn't really know, first of all, how it was working properly, and then when he just flash E'd me and it took like half my HP, I was just, yeah, I think we should play this champion. So we started playing it, and it became, I guess, highly contested throughout these 2 days.
Yep, definitely.
But I definitely think it will stick around, especially nowadays. The comps generally have a lot less CC than they had a couple of patches ago. So a champion like Vlad or a champion like Swain just have a lot of potent in the meta all in all, because they just can stay alive forever without the CC keeping them down.
They're nice to see played as well. Now let's take a look at the players of the game, because we have a lot after our first couple of days. Betsy, Fevin, Julius, Nukeduck, and Trick, they have earned the honor twice. So we're definitely seeing not all ones and some difference there. Exile in there as well as move to UOL players. And then Ryu and Wonder. Fevin, of course, up there. He won a lot in Spring Split as well. But a nice diversified leaderboard, which I think reflects the fact that we have seen a lot of teams that could go up against each other and not just a clear bottom of the table and top of the table.
Yeah, and also just to see, nice to see some improvement day to day, especially from Move Invisible day 1. Some really nice plays here on day 2. Flash cocoons. Especially there was this phase against Amazing where Amazing was in a brush and you could walk up and hope that he wouldn't notice you and try to cocoon, but because he knew flashes were down, he went for a flash cocoon himself. I mean, it reads super easy, but it's the little things. I like the confidence he was playing with. Definitely helped the Unicorns get those wins.
Nukeduck as well. I mean, this guy right now seems to be the bread and butter of his team. If he does badly, his team does badly. If he does well, his team does well.
Well, if he picks LeBlanc, he does badly.
Well, okay, that seems to be the data that we have so far, yeah. But his Lissandra is really good, and that's why he's sitting at the top right now, because when he does make those plays on Lissandra, they are very impressive, and hopefully he can continue to grow moving forward. I'd like to see more diversity in his champ pool, but with the changes in patch 6.11, I'm hoping that we will see more mid.
Well, he has a lot of games to show it because the 2016 EU LCS Summer Split continues next Thursday with H2K versus Giants and Vitality versus Origen. We'll also see the Unicorns of Love face Fnatic and Roccat versus G2. Reckless, that matchup versus UL, of course, there's a bit of history with the backdoors and stuff in UL versus Fnatic, but they showed a strong game here today, so what do you think?
Yeah, I guess, as you said before, it's quite hard to tell where to put them because they had this really good game against Origen, right? And then the not so good one against Schalke. So I don't think we'll be doing anything differently, though, than we have been doing so far. I think, all in all, like, our scrims have been really good, and I think we have actually been one of the better teams throughout the scrims during these past 2 weeks or so. But then again, you know, scrims are scrims, and once you get to the stage, things are very different. So you never really know where to put your enemy team, especially during these first weeks, and you never really know where to put yourself. So you kind of just try to make the best out of it and then grow from there.
Well, YellOwStaR said top 3 for Fnatic, so we got that at least.
I can't even see myself not going to Worlds, so yeah. We'll have to work our way there.
To be honest.
Same. In any case, our coverage begins Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Central European Summertime. That is 8 a.m. Pacific. But don't worry, there is a whole lot more LCS coming your way this week, starting tonight with a rematch of the North American Spring Finals between TSM and Counter Logic Gaming. And we'll see Team Envy versus Energy Esports in the second series of the night. Those games will hit your browser starting tomorrow at 2 a.m. Central European Summertime. That's like in 3 hours or something. And this evening at 5 p.m. for those observing Pacific Daylight Time.
Somewhere in the future.
Somewhere in the future. It's not that far away at all. For us here in Berlin, though, it is time to call it a night. For myself, the casters, and everyone here behind the scenes, it's time to call up. At the European LCS, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to Reckless for joining us as well at the start of the summer 2016. And we'll see you back here next week.
Heading onto the rim, it will be the first game here on Screen 1 EU LCS. Field comes up, a lot of help coming back right into the Sanguine pool. Razor's following after, but he managed to take down the Vladimir, and now the tables have indeed turned.
Brad.
I'm fine. They're really low, Nice.
Trashing into the backline, onto Steelback, but he's got no support, no backup, as both these teams go one-on-one. Roccat with a win over Splyce. This is nice from Maxo and Husson, potentially setting up a kill, but Perks is going to swing in and land the ultimate onto Knight for the first blood.
I go now, come. Yeah, slowly. I got me. I'm fine. I do have no flash now.
It's going to be credit to Sven. The double will be going over to him, but he's under the tower. Can't out-heal that one. Kickers are going to come in for the kill.
Come fight me then, boy. Oh my god, this wasn't even close. Oh shit, I'm gonna win it. I'm gonna win it.
I think
I'm gonna win. No, actually, am I gonna lose it?
In the same boat, Knight will go down. Both mid laners exchange. Sunstar getting taken out there by Trick, and Hudson will receive the same fate. Double kill coming out there from Sven. G2, 2-0 on the day over Giants.
Storm continues to chase down. Ryu might get 1v1. Siphon power. First blood for Fox. Oh no, Chrono breaks to stay alive for a few seconds longer before Steve is taken down. Things have got messy, but it's Schalke that have got themselves two already.
Chase. I'm on Victor. Victor is dead. Victor. I'm on.
Pick on that.
Yeah, let's go.
There's the body slam into the parallel convergence. H2K have lost Freeze just like that. Schalke break the game wide open. A lot of damage. The divide sends O2 there and Ryu into the waiting hands of Schalke. The remaining members of Schalke take down the Nexus, even out the series 1-1, and take away 4 points in the opening week of the Summer Split.